Welcome back to Andertons TV. Pete's gone on holiday, and that's given us license to play more distorted guitar and invite special guests in, like Jamie Oldfield, aka Jamie Slays of YouTube and other things. Welcome back to Andertons.
Hello.
It's nice to see you. This is our second video of the day, and I thought, for fun, tell me a little bit, or tell the audience a little bit, Jamie, your sort of favorite genre of metal and your sort of, you know, your 2 or 3 sort of favorite brands, because metal goes, you know, when someone says metal, you know, what are we talking about? Are we talking Black Sabbath, or are we talking Polyphia, or are we talking a million genres in between? And they've all got quite a different vibe in terms of playing style and sound and all that kind of stuff. So what's your thing?
My go-to, I suppose, is kind of metalcore, but thrash metal is my favourite. The Panteras, the Metallicas, the kind of 80s, 90s era. Silosis is one of my favourite bands. Okay. Josh from Architects also. And yeah, like Ibanez, Jackson, ESP, I'd say we're kind of the kind of main pillars of the metal genre. You're
definitely sort of more at home with a sort of super strat style guitar, aren't you? And I know, you know, brands wise you play a lot of Ibanez and ESP and stuff like that. But today I thought we'd sort of challenge you to a different kind of thing. So I've grabbed half a dozen single cut style. This the hilarious one of all, single cut guitars. Now obviously the sort of the forefather of the single cut is the Les Paul. Some people, I suppose, could quite rightly argue that Telecaster, but we're going more in the sort of the Les Paul vein. But what I've tried to steer clear of a very traditional style Les Paul, and I've tried to pick out, we have got an Epiphone over here, which I guess would be the only one that we're officially allowed to call a Les Paul, but all the other ones are kind of, you know, that genre, but they'll all have something about them that is a slightly more contemporary twist. And Jamie hasn't played any of these before, and what I want to do is sort of get his opinion, I guess, of the bands and that you love. Who would be the players that would have used or do still use a single cut style guitar?
Yeah, I guess the main one is James Hetfield. Yeah. All of his favourite shapes are single cut V's and Explorers, which are all like Gibson shapes. But yeah, he, annoyingly, because I love him so much, but I don't really get on with single cuts that well. But yeah, he has his own signature ESP models.
Do you play? Have you played an Iron Cross?
I have, yes. I've played the Iron Cross with his EMG set. Really liked it. It sounded awesome. I would buy that guitar totally. I'd probably get over my initial having to sit in a weird position.
Yeah, what is it about? Maybe
I think it was just I only recently now started sitting like this, and actually it does sit better this way. So in theory, I could get on quite well with them. But when I used to sit like this, they used to just kind of fall off a little bit. But and I think, like we said earlier, I rarely play standing up, so if I was, it'd probably be a bit easier. Josh from Silosis did play single cut for a while. He had a Les Paul, the Silverburst, so that was something that I kind of caught my eye a little bit. And also, we saw Tool a few months back, and
I was about to say, Adam
plays his signature, which I was like, oh, I quite like that. So there are some bands where I go, oh, maybe I will, and you know, Slash and Guns N' Roses, the kind of thing.
Certainly, the two big Les Paul users you just mentioned there obviously do play a traditional Les Paul, so there is no sense that, you know, you can't play a traditional Les Paul. But I've tried to go with, you know, guitars with maybe slightly more modern heel joints, maybe slightly skinnier necks, perhaps beefed up pickups, that kind of vibe. This guitar player is another favourite of yours. Maybe I know you've not played this guitar yet, but you're a Marty Friedman sort of fan, aren't you?
So I think that's more from his like solo project stuff, but Megadeth are great. The songs that they first released, like Peace Sells and Symphony of Destruction, that kind of stuff, all the stuff where he was playing on them are some of my favourite songs they've done. But yeah, I love that because it reminds me of the Dimebag guitar that he had made. But that obviously is because of Ace Frehley from Kiss.
Yes, of course.
The Mirror Iceman that he had. But yeah, I love Purple as well, so for me I'm sure Pete would love that one too, but I love Purple also. So well,
look, we've got 6 guitars here today. We'll go through them one at a time. I will be your spec reading wingman, and as I said, I genuinely, there's no angle with this video. I I don't want you to, you know, like something you don't like or anything like that. So I just think if you play some stuff that you would normally play, and then just give us an objective response. And then what I think I'll do after you've played them, I'll do a quick rundown of the spec, and I'll tell you how much it is, and then you can have that reaction of like, oh, that's more than I thought, less than I thought. You know.
Cool.
Okay,
Sounds
so
good.
we're going to start off here with actually probably the least contemporary of the 6 here.
Yeah.
Well, certainly one of the least. This is the Sire L7. So have a blast on that, and I'll tell people about it afterwards. Yeah, I mean, we're using a 5150.
Yeah.
No pedals.
Sounds
no
massive.
reverb.
Sounds
I don't
massive.
know how we let him in.
Yeah.
So,
No reverb.
what was your initial feeling on the guitar?
I noticed when I was playing it kind of moved,
Mhm.
but again, it could be because of the way I'm sitting, but it was moving along like this, and I had to kind of readjust it. It's quite light. I know lots of Les Pauls tend to be quite heavy. You know, I've always heard of Zach Wild would put extra weights in his to make him even heavier.
Really?
I like the gold hardware. It does remind me of, you know, the kind of if James Hetfield does have an Iron Cross type guitar with all gold hardware, and the neck's like a satin finish, which is a little bit sticky, but the tuning stability is pretty good. The knobs are quite easy to use as well. So yeah, I'd say it's all right.
Out of 10.
Oh, brutal. We're going out of 10. Okay, I always think doing out of 10 for the first one is the hardest
Yeah,
one,
it's
because
difficult.
you know, like, you got to leave yourself somewhere to go both ways.
I'd say 3 out of 10.
3?
My
Harsh.
fear-
For this genre, we're sort of saying.
Specifically, not because of not the brand of the guitar or the playability, but specifically for playing metal. I'd say 3 out of 10.
Fine.
I've never heard of them before either. So.
Okay, so Sire is a brand that Andertons has carried for about 5 or 6 years. Probably better known for their bass guitars. They have a deal with Marcus Miller to do all the bass guitars. So anyway, so the L7 is very traditional in its choice of materials. So it's a mahogany body with a maple top, mahogany neck. As you rightly pointed out, they've gone for the satin finish on the back of the neck, which should make it faster rather than stickier.
Yeah.
12-inch radius, so traditional sort of radius for this style of guitar. 24.7-inch scale length, so again pretty traditional. They've got their own brand humbuckers in them. They are definitely voiced to be older school, more PAF sort of sounding, but it does have a much faster or easier access neck joint to something like a Les Paul.
Yeah, it
So
does
that-
have a kind of cutaway here, which
Yeah.
actually was, if I was to go down there, which I haven't yet, but it is still quite hard, but I think that's just a Les Paul thing. in
No,
general,
it's
so.
fine. So anyway, this is 500 and actually depends on the color, but anywhere between sort of like 550 and 580. Locking tuners, which is quite nice. Choice of colors, but 3 out of 10. Sorry, Sire.
Sorry.
This is clearly not your sort of James
have to
Hetfield
readjust my
go-to.
numbers
No,
again.
look, man. And you're welcome to do that. So, shall we move on to the next guitar? I kind of feel like a 3 out of 10 was a bad start. We maybe should have gone 5 out of 10, because then at least you've got, like,
Middle
if
of
you
the
like
road.
something less, it's really going to get
Going to go down to
slated.
1 and going to
Okay.
upset some people.
So this is the only Les Paul that we've got, proper Les Paul. We're allowed to call it a Les Paul because it's from Epiphone, and Epiphone is part of the Gibson family, so we're allowed to. This is a signature guitar for Jerry Cantrell. Was Alice in Chains a big sort of, probably not heavy enough for you?
No,
was it?
so I've seen Alice in Chains at Download Festival, and I've played Friedman amps, that are the ones that his signature one, and I never really got into the whole grunge kind of Pearl Jam, Soundgarden kind of era. More so now, but I know all my knowledge of them is Dimebag was a big fan and big friends with him.
Oh, really?
And, like, they got on really well, and Zach Wild and all these kind of people from that era. That he, from what I've heard, has got some great riffs. I've just never really given them.
He's a
that
proper
much
riffster,
yeah.
isn't he? So, I'll do the spec at the end of this. Suffice to tell you that you've got a set of Fishman Fluence pickups in here.
Okay.
And yes, what you just did
Well,
was...
everything is. Everything
Yeah,
is got it.
well, I'd better tell you about this, because otherwise you might not use them. But normally on Fluence stuff, it's about different kinds of tones rather than coil tapping, like traditional coil tapping. So yes, essentially that's it. You've got like a vintage PAF sound or a hot sound, depending. And a shimmering single coil type tone as well. Do you know what it doesn't tell me on here is which pot does what? So I think I'm just going to leave you to work it out.
Okay. Generally, it tends to be passive and active voicings, so we'll see. Fishman
stuff can only be active because it's a Fishman pickups are not traditional. It's a printed circuit board underneath there. It's not like a magnet with wire around it. So it is. You can't turn the activeness off.
Well, that's good because I own one and I should know that. I've got an ESP M2 with some in. So yeah.
But I mean, Fluent stuff, in my opinion, they've become now. There was a period where everything was like EMG 81, 85 set, and EMG still make great pickups. But yeah, I think Fluence is the new kind of go-to active kind.
Let's try them out.
Yes.
I'll switch. Initially, I think pulling it up puts it into passive mode.
We'll see.
Find out.
What about these two? I think that pulled you into hot mode, personally.
Yeah, I feel like the same because when I switched it back down, it was in. And these might be the shimmery. I reckon these two are great in the clean tone.
I tell a lie, it does tell me what they do. So, and you were right, bizarrely. So these two, apparently, the two volume controls, if you pull them, are the ones that enter it into the more sort of single coil type cleaner tone, and it's the ones on the tone controls that do the voice switching. So,
okay.
So that
should have made it. Yeah, I think lifting it up makes it passive.
With this much gain on the amplifier, it's hard to hear, isn't it?
No reverb, too much gain. Yeah, I think pulling it up is split coil, and then pulling that up is passive sounding.
So actually, its default mode, by the looks of things, is like the hot mode, right?
Yeah,
is what we think.
So yeah, I like the sound of that one. Again,
okay, would you like me to tell you a little bit about this, or do you want to sort of mark it first, or are you liking it more than the other one?
I like it more, but
why is it not
bit more
slipping off the same? Because it's much the same body shape.
I feel like this horn, I guess you call it, is a bit more. Oh, the guitar is thicker as well and less curved. Yeah. So I think that was a big difference. Whereas the previous one had like a smoother edge, so I think it was moving as I was playing. I tend to play quite hard as well, so that makes it move a bit more. This one seems to be sticking to my body a bit more as well, and there's no like cutaway on the back, so I think it's just sitting underneath a bit.
Cool. Okay, so this is this is the Jerry Cantrell Epiphone version. He has a Gibson USA version as well. The only real difference in terms of the construction of this to the previous guitars, this has ultra modern weight relief. So if you were to take the top off, it looks like a bit of Swiss cheese,
like chambering.
All the chambering in there. It talks about the neck being like a Jerry Cantrell custom taper. So you'll have to describe that really, because it's just however Jerry likes it. Yeah. Same 12-inch radius, got an ebony fretboard now, which is good. And we talked about the pickup, so it's a Fishman Fluence set, and it comes with a hard case, which is kind of nice. I don't think the tuners are locking. Tuners locking as well. There we are. Shall I tell you the price, and then you can kind of tell me, give it a score?
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think this is more or less than the first one?
I think it's less.
I think it's less money.
No, I think it's more because it's Jerry Cantrell. I've seen where it's made, so I feel like it should be less.
So it should be less, but you think it'll be more.
Yeah.
Okay, well it's $8.99.
Yeah.
So it's
I mean, the fish ones will make it more expensive.
Another sort of 300 odd quid dearer than the first guitar.
Because this one's made in China and the other one was made in Indonesia.
I'm not.
But obviously, that doesn't necessarily make a massive difference anymore.
I kind of feel like in that Southeast Asia, I think you're right. If you know, historically, China would be where the cheap stuff was. Korea was where or Japan/Korea was where the dearest stuff was, and Indonesia was this sort of in-betweeny thing. And I almost feel like Korea's still the expensive one, and then China and Indonesia both do kind of anything from really cheap to actually,
I can say I proved myself wrong because I prefer this one to the other one.
Okay, so give that one. This is $8.99. So this get a 5. 5. So we're 50% of the time this should be fine for this style of music. Cool. If you wanted a non-Jerry Cantrell Prophecy, which I guess will have a different neck carve, but it does appear to have the same pickups in them, you can pick up a non-Jerry Cantrell Prophecy for anything from sort of 650 to 700 odd quid. So yes, that's Jerry's little
fret inlays as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Look, it's cosmetically different as well. So there we are. Okay, so that's I guess that's probably our most traditional two guitars, and given how low Jamie has scored them both, my guess is he's not a fan of traditional guitars for this sort of vibe. Okay,
you'd be guessing right. So now we've got
probably
LTD.
The most well-known brand that isn't Gibson or Epiphone for making a single cut, this style of guitar, and of course what we have got here, and this is, you don't have to have this, but I'm interested in your sort of opinion on the Evertune bridge. This has a very different kind of bridge and tailpiece to the rest of the guitars that we've got.
Brilliant. Let's have a play. There we go. That was lovely.
Okay, so an
lovely,
instant. Why? Because it's interesting. None of the guitars, in my opinion, sort of the balance and the feel of the guitars shouldn't be that different. So what is it?
So this one's got a thinner neck, I think. It's slightly smoother. The Duncans, I think they're the Black Winter set or the Nazgul.
Oh, I see. You're telling me what the spec is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Fine. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm familiar with Evertune. I've got 2 guitars with Evertunes in, and they are tonally just slightly different. Sometimes better, sometimes worse, depending on what pickups you put in them. But it's familiar. Like the single cut shapes I've played have been EC1000s, and growing up in the noughties with the metalcore genre kind of blowing up, EC1000 with the EMGs was like the go-to for most people. For me, not so much, because again, I didn't use single cuts that much, but yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's quite heavy though.
I must admit, I'm trying to decide. So do you want me to tell you how much this is, or do you want to score it first?
I'll give it a 7.
He's giving it a 7.
10.
Okay, I'm trying to find the guitar actually. Here it is. So this is an EC1000 Evertune in see-through black. It's £1,200, so it's
a bit more.
Yeah, it's more than double the price of the first one.
Yeah.
You can buy this guitar for a couple of £100 less than that if you elect to just go for a normal Tunematic style tailpiece. The pickups on here, we're going to have to flash these up on screen, or somebody with internet access is going to have to quickly do this. The pickups on here, Seymour Duncan SH2 and SH4.
Okay.
JB and Jazz.
It is a JB and a Jazz.
Wow.
It's my favourite two Seymour Duncan pickups.
JB is one of my favourite pickups.
The construction of this, it's obviously a really well-trodden path, this idea of mahogany body, maple top, mahogany neck. You know, it's kind of how Gibson did the first Les Pauls, and it's kind of been a theme ever since. Again, they've stuck with the same scale length. That often surprises me, really. Normally speaking, the shorter the scale length, the worse it would be for sort of drop tuning.
Yeah.
But obviously the Evertune is kind of helping with that. Do you feel like, I know we haven't drop tuned these, but if you were to just, actually that's probably a bad guitar to actually drop tune. We'll do it on the next one, but we'll sort of get an idea as to what would you typically string this style of guitar with in terms of a gauge?
I tend to play quite thick strings for E standard. I play like 10 to 48 because obviously with downpicking and those kind of things, it can knock the pitch out a little bit. But with Evertune, you don't need to as much because obviously they're slightly more in tune. Are
you getting that? So, you know, there's that classic, and some
like
people like it, where the initial pitch is that sort of wow, and then it refines its pitch. And some people play that into their style, and other people hate it. You know, they just and obviously the idea with Evertune, it's witchcraft, this Evertune thing. If you're not familiar, it's completely mechanical. There's nothing digital or anything going on here. But what happens is these saddles down here are moving all the time to compensate for any change in tension on the string, so that essentially it's impossible for these things to kind of go out of tune. And it's kind of weird as well, because you sit there going, well, how do you bend strings or do vibrato? And it's like, well, you can do that too. So nothing really makes sense. But if you do that heavy chug thing, and I think it'll demonstrate that it is a tighter sound on the Evertune, isn't it?
It seems to level out straight away.
It's quite. I always find when I have ever picked up an Evertune guitar, I struggle to adapt. I feel like I have to adapt how I play to sort of. Anyway, what was the verdict on SH2s and SH4s?
JB and Jazz.
It is a JB and a Jazz.
Wow.
It's my favourite two Seymour Duncan pickups.
JB is one of my favourite pickups too.
But it all sounds wrong, right? Who's going to have a metal guitar with a jazz humbucker at the neck? But
Dimebag's style sounding is based on like a JB and a 59, I think, so it's similar sounding. So yeah, I think it sounded great for, out of the two we played, I think so far, I think it sounded the best one.
Excellent. All right, so 7 out of 10, and the ESP is winning. Okay. Oh my God, this is so heavy. What's it made of? Like,
it's got the mirror on it, isn't it?
Is that what it is? You think it's the mirror making it? So anyway, this is the Cheyenne retiring Marty Friedman Monarch from Jackson.
He has his own signature pickups, doesn't he now?
I will look it up for you. We'll find out. Obviously, we've got EMGs in here. The Jackson, I must admit, so the Monarch shape for Jackson was a relatively recent one. You know, certainly doesn't have the heritage of dinkies and soloists and even some of the crazy shapes. And what was the original Marty Friedman Jackson shape? Was the Kelly, wasn't it?
Yeah, he used to, before the Warrior, he played the like Explorer shape, the Kelly one.
So anyway, so it's obviously Marty's had a long association with Jackson. Let's see what Jamie rates this at.
Different to the previous one. Obviously the EMGs are active, so I assume they're active. There's a battery on the back. Possibly not active. Could be passives.
I've never heard of that before, but that's weird, isn't it? So there's either
they do make passives ones now. The 57 and the 66.
It is his passive. Marty Friedman signature set. I don't think I've ever read up about those. So we will, though, or somebody will. They'll read up about the Marty Friedman set.
The pickups are passive.
Passive EMGs.
Passive
Whatever
EMGs.
next. That was actually my favourite sounding one of the.
Yeah,
of the
I was about to say
so
the same They're sounding slightly more quacky.
Have more attack,
like a open wah sound kind of sound. But yeah, I think it definitely, those and the Seymour Duncans are my favourite ones so far. It's quite heavy, like you said. It's the mirror is probably making a big, probably shining all the lights all over the place as well.
That's wicked. Oh yeah, actually, if you do it in a certain way, and you can see our camera crew look like that. You can see, hello.
But yeah, reflecting off your hand. But it was really comfortable. It feels nice.
So again, unsurprisingly, mahogany body. There is no top as such on this because it's not an arch top, it's just a slab top, so it just has the mirror finish. The mirror finish is glossed over, so there are no don't worry,
you're
going to cut yourself playing this guitar. Mahogany neck, again set neck, 12-inch radius, 22 frets. Where's the other 2 frets gone?
No. Unheard of.
You know what I quite like? I quite like the 3-a-side headstock, but they've done it, you know, they've kept a sort of a Jackson-y vibe to it without going too sort of close to the sort of Gibson-y vibe.
Custom logo there.
Yeah, it's cool. Oh, he's got a little sort of hologram of himself or something.
Yeah.
MF.
Yeah.
MF. Whatever could that stand for? Yeah, Tunematic style tailpiece. And anyway, the price. Do we do the price before you score it, or do we do the price after you score it?
The first 2 you did it before we scored it. The third one you did it.
I'm going to do it before because it should affect your decision. So, do you think this should be more expensive than anything you've played yet, or cheaper, or in the middle, or what do you think?
I think it's going to be cheaper than the LTD one,
okay,
but more expensive than the Jerry Cantrell one.
It's actually the same price as the Jerry Cantrell one, so it's $8.99.
That's a pretty good price for this guitar, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to really like how that looks, haven't you?
Yeah,
this is not reflective. A sort of a This is not a sort of just a sort of a vanilla colour, is it? All right, well look, so score it then, please. Out of 10.
I think I'll give it a 6. It's just a bit. I
sort of feel all we're really proving today is that Jamie is unlikely to buy a single cut style guitar anytime soon. Anywho,
I'm not getting any 10s just yet.
No, what would we have to get a 10? Would that just be like a
Floyd Rose or
Floyd Rose Horizon or something for you?
Yeah, possibly, but
fine. Okay.
Yeah. Well, this is nice and light.
Right. I won't tell you anything about this guitar. You can just find out about it. Marvellous.
I like that one. I actually like that one loads. Really nice.
This is now. I know what you're all saying. Okay, I know already. Jamie does know that I am a shareholder in Chapman Guitars, but I genuinely told him to just. I don't care whether he likes the guitar or not.
Yeah, there's no check in the mail.
I mean, I do care if he likes the guitar or not, but I don't want to try and influence his decisions on that. Now, there are 1 or 2 things different about this guitar to everything you've played so far that maybe has influenced you to sort of go, oh, I quite like that. So I guess probably the biggest difference is it is a 25.5-inch scale length. So the string tension on that guitar, and I don't know necessarily about the feel, but the string tension will be much more akin to the guitars that you typically like. Yeah. And the reason we did that was because I think there was a sense that if you want to drop tune it, you know, the traditional Les Paul scale length isn't an ideal scale length for drop tuning. There's a ton of stuff that's very similar to the other stuff. So, you know, as with most of these things, it's a mahogany body with a maple top and a mahogany neck. No, it's not. I do apologise. It's a roasted maple neck. I don't know. Who knows? Ebony fingerboard, 24 frets. Traditional fingerboard radius, so I think again we're around about the sort of 12-inch radius. The pickups are probably 2 of your preferred pickups again. So you got Seymour Duncan Pegasus and a Seymour Duncan Sentient, and a coil split, which you didn't use, but strung through body. So again, it's not a Tune-o-matic style traditional tailpiece. So I don't know, what was it? Again, I know what you're saying, but so half of me feels, please don't score this one higher than anything else, because then I'll just get even more abuse. But what did you like about that?
It's very light. That helps a lot. My hand seemed to rest in a way that was familiar, and I think, like you said, is the longer scale and the string through body. I don't have many guitars. I think I've got one that has a Tune-o-matic, and everything else is either Floyd Rose or strung through like a hip shot style. Pickup sounded great. When we put it into drop D, it handled that fine, and again, that could be due to the scale length. Neck was really smooth. Out of all of them, I think it's the only one that hasn't been painted. It's an unfinished gloss kind of neck, and like I said, the lightness and the thinness or the thickness, I guess, is quite comfortable to sit with, and it didn't move that much.
Now again, I don't want to sort of influence your decision yet. That is a Korean-made guitar, so it comes out of the Chapman Pro series. How much do you think that's likely to be more expensive or less expensive, or where do you think it'll be? And then I'll tell you how much it is, and then you can score it.
I think it'll be less expensive than the LTD one, because of the Evertune. So I reckon it's like between 1,099 to like 1,200 and something.
It's good, right? It's about £1,000. So come on then, score it. It's got hip shot. Oh, it's got hip shot locking tuners.
Yeah.
So you know, it's got good stuff, right? But come on, score it. And honestly, I would be more than happy if it gets a 7 and ties with the ESP. But if you want, you score it whatever you like.
I'd give it an 8 because I have an Evertune, but it's not my favourite bridge ever.
Fine.
So for me, the ease of use of, like you said, we can't just drop tune an Evertune. You have to.
Do you realise how much abuse you're going to get now for this as well? So anyway, look, of course I'm pleased.
I'm pleasantly surprised. I've never really played a Chapman before.
Well, so I'll send you one if you want.
Yeah,
I'll send you one. You can check it out in a bit more depth.
At least get a free guitar.
So lastly, Pori Smith guitars. Everybody knows about these. Again, we've chosen an SE model. So again, coming out of Indonesia. What we've gone for is the Mark Tremonti. They do a non-Mark Tremonti single cut, which is actually just probably even a little bit too traditional to sort of fit the mold here. Trem system, so it's the only guitar that we've got with a trem system on here. On the SE, it's just pulley. You don't. It's not a turny one. I can't remember. Does it do thingies? No coil taps, no nothing. It's got SE pickups in it. And anyway, give it a go.
I'm not sure that bridge liked those pinch harmonic squeals.
What's your immediate impression of that then?
Pickup sounded good. Sounded great in the neck position. I think it's at 22 frets, so that's I quite like a neck 22 pickup. Definitely good. I know it's Sophie Burrell's one of her favourite guitars. I remember watching your video where she said it was her first
that's right.
one.
She's a massive Tremonti fan, isn't she?
And so I've heard of them. You know, I've used his amp and stuff, and it sounded really good. It's quite smooth on the back. The tuning was actually that's something you do quite often, but staying in tune is good and easy to tune, so the tuners are quite nice. It's not a heavy one, but it's not a light one either, so it's quite in the middle, and it's quite thick too. Sits well.
That is the single cut kind of feature of the. So if you want a thinner PRS, you go for the like the Custom 22 or the Custom 24, but the 245 and the ones that are trying to be more Les Paul-y are pretty chunky, right? There's a beef of a guitar there.
There's a little bit of a kind of smoothed cutaway bit for where it rests on your body, and there's a lot more reach.
Do you think if you have a guitar with a trem system on it, it does completely inherently change the nature and the tone of the guitar? Or
I think so, and I learned that most when I got an Evertune, because I remember in Josh's video when he was with you guys that it does kind of change how it sounds. You know, I've got my own signature pickups, and when I put them in a guitar with this Evertune, it sounded different to ones without. And
who have you done that with?
So there's a company called Legendary Pickups in Scotland.
Oh, cool.
So like we were just playing around with pickups, and then he was like, "Oh, would you ever make your own one?" Which I was like, "Oh well, I'm so humbled," because you know I didn't think I was a big deal or anything. But when I was trying them out in different guitars, it sounded different, and he was very shocked at how different it sounded. So I tried it most in all my guitars with Floyd Rose, Ibanez's, RGs, and for me that does change, and it also changes like Mick Thompson says, you know, with his blocked off Jackson bridge, that it is how it rests on your hand, and obviously if you press too much it will go sharp and flat and stuff, but I prefer floating bridge. Most of my guitars are floating bridge, but I like a floating bridge that does float well, and for this I would probably not use it that much.
It's certainly not in the Floyd Rose camp, is it? It's more traditional.
It's more like Squire.
Well, so yeah, stuff about this guitar, you know, we have a mahogany body with a maple veneer. We have a maple neck. It classes the neck profile as wide thin, so I don't know if you're finding that a little wider than the others.
It is thin.
We've talked about the trem system. It has a 25-inch scale. That's a PRS thing. They lump right in the middle, really, of like a Strat and a Les Paul style scale length. The pickups on this are the SE wound Tremonti versions. So they'll take the American-made Tremonti pickup that he makes with Paul Reed Smith USA, and then do like a Far Eastern version of it, but hopefully capturing the sort of tone of it. Yeah, do you know what? And okay, the price of this is, he says, $849. So it's kind of bang in the middle, really, of what we've been reviewing today. So score that one then.
I'd say it's on par with the Jerry Cantrell, which I think was a
6, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I'd say it's on par with that one. Like I said, I would take the Ironman and not really use it. The pickups sound great. It's a bit, like, because it's a curved, smoother edge than the Jerry Cantrell one, but it did sound nice.
Well,
I did like it.
I will put links to all of these below, and before Jamie and I run for cover, I'd just like to remind you that the winner of this shootout, with 8 out of 10 for playing 80s, 90s style metal and particularly thrash metal, was the Chapman Ml2. I've been the captain. He's been Jamie Slays.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll see you in another video soon. Au revoir.